How are you? Well, I got a couple of questions on last week's build, the organization of the shop here. So I'll just answer them as best as I can one by one. The first one is about the finish that I used on the plywood and the MDF. And I used, this time I used something called Aquazar, and it's a water-based polyurethane. Usually I use something called polyacrylic by Minwax, but it just wasn't available at the hardware store. And I found them both to be just about the same. Really easy to use, dried quickly, and easy cleanup. It's water soluble. Ed wanted to know about my cordless circular saw and what do I think of it. I love it. I love cordless tools. I have two other circular saws and I almost never use them anymore. The one thing is you're tied to what you buy first. So my suggestion is buy a good tool. This happens to be the 18-volt DeWalt set, and so recently, or maybe a year ago now, I bought the Jigsaw, and again it was the 18-volt, and I think they make a 22-volt now. I'm not sure, but I think they do make a better one. The one thing is the batteries are really expensive, so when the battery dies, what do you do with your tools? You'll have to buy another battery, and I think that these are somewhere around $80, so that's where they get you. But I really do like this saw. George wanted to know the name of the color of the paint that I was using, and it's by Benjamin Moore, and it's Salisbury green. I'll take a picture of the label and put it up. I like the color. This is a color that was an old paint that was in the shop here, and I ran out of it, and I had to get new paint mixed up for this cabinet, and it just looks good. Somebody said it's soothing, and I think it is. It's kind of a nice combination between the wood and the like the cherry pulls and the green cabinet. I think it just works. Cody Fox from Australia wanted to know about the drill bit used for self-centering holes for the hinges. It's called a VIX bit, and you may be able to find these at a hardware store, at a home store. I'm really not sure, but if you can't, type in VIX bit to Google and it should come right up on Amazon. They're very popular. Couple of, one comment and a few emails, how to avoid tear out with the crosscut saw or the chop saw. And you probably notice I always run a score cut first, so I'll draw the saw out, just taking maybe the first 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch off the top, and then pushing the saw through the rest of the board or through the bottom of the board. And that seems to work. I get less tear out. Vince wanted to know what's a good material to use for the jig that I use for my circular saw, making straight line rips. And I think that he had used a cheap plywood and it worked. You could use MDF. I think MDF it would be a good material to use. I'm going to need to make another jig soon because I need to cut an angle. And once you've changed the angle, you kind of sacrifice the jig. And so I'll probably use MDF. You might want to seal the MDF with 1 or 2 coats of the polyacrylic if you do that, because MDF has a tendency to sort of tear out. It's soft. So that's my thoughts on that. What kind of hinges did I use? These are self-closing hinges. These are very popular. You can find these at any home store or hardware store. They're not very expensive and they're really easy to install, and that's really the reason why I use them on my shop cabinets. Also, because they're self-closing, you don't need to use a magnetic catch on any of your doors. That just makes it a little simpler. And another question, this is funny. Matthew wants to know if I listen to music when I work, or what kind of music do I listen to. And I love music, and I used to listen to music when I work, but because I'm filming for the most part, I generally don't listen to music because it involves turning on and off the radio. What kind of music do I like? I don't like the real popular music that you hear, I guess like dance music, I don't know, or that you hear on the popular radio stations. I like a couple of artists. I like Warren Zevon. I'm a huge Warren Zevon fan. Weezer, I like Weezer. I actually turned my kids on to Weezer. I'm really everything. I'm Johnny Cash, old school rap. It really runs the gamut. It just depends on I guess how I feel at the time. I did just read the book. I don't know if you saw the last video that Steve Ramsey did for 2014. He talked about, he's sponsored by Audible. So he talked about how music is made by David Byrne. David Byrne's the lead singer and I guess the founder of Talking Heads. And I'm a huge Talking Heads fan, and I found that book to be really helpful, really inspiring, because music and painting and woodworking, it all crosses over. And what I got from that book was the more you know, the broader your vocabulary, whatever your vocation is, whether it's painting or music or woodworking, it's all sort of building that how-to, and then you can use all those skills to make whatever it is you're making. So last week I mentioned that I'm making my own music for my videos, and really I just know a few chords on the guitar, but it's just something to learn. It's a lot of fun. And the way I made the music for the last week's video was I just recorded them on my phone as a voice memo, and emailed them to me, and then pulled them onto the video. So there was really not a lot of room for editing. But this week I've been learning how to use GarageBand, which is just an amazing program, and I'm just scratching the surface of what it can do. And but you get an understanding of, like, it's just amazing what you can do with technology, how one guitar can sound so different with just a few different functions added. And the last thing I'll leave you with, if you are thinking of getting into guitar or learning how to play guitar, there's so many great guitar teachers out on YouTube now, so it's a great time to learn. And my one piece of advice is get an acoustic classical guitar. That's a nylon string guitar with a wide neck. And the reason why I suggest that is the strings are softer, so they're easier to press down, and because the neck is wider, it's just easier for your fingers to find the right place to put that. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on Friday.